MedBricks webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming. Welcome to the MedBricks webcast. I'm the host, Ramana Annamaraju. I'm the host of the MedBricks webcast. We have an excellent program today. I'm going to talk with a board-certified psychiatrist, Vanessa Vélez. I love that name. It has a tune to it, rhyme to the Vanessa Vélez name. She's a board-certified psychiatrist. And then after that, I'm going to present a topic on something interesting, observer and observed, in a quantum physics concept. And it is very related to the medicine also. A lot of quantum physics concepts conceptually you can apply into the medicine. I'm going to show you a little bit about that. But I saw actually I saw a movie in 2011 or something, sometime. It's called a movie called Dangerous Method. Kyra Nightingale. It is about the Carl Jung, this philosopher and psychiatrist Carl Jung. He was treating a Russian woman. He wanted to apply all his methods to this Russian woman of the Sigmund Freud methods. Sigmund Freud method is all about the sex, nothing else. He talks about sex and he practices sex. So he thinks that all the mind is something related to the sex. So I saw that movie. I'm pretty sure Vanessa Vélez and a lot of psychiatrists don't agree with that one, but that he put a very convincing argument. Carl Jung actually met Sigmund Freud after that, but it's interesting. So we pass to that stage beyond sex, and psychiatry merged with the neuroscience, and it is developed quite a bit now. So, without further ado, the Dr. Vanessa Vélez is a board-certified doctor. She's a board-certified doctor from Geisinger, Pennsylvania healthcare system. It is a huge system. She's a California's board-certified psychiatrist. And then, she has a very interesting story. As a psychiatrist, you just look for the soul. I wrote nice things about her. I was very impressed. She went on El Camino Santiago Trail that's the disciple of Jesus Christ. His name is James, I think. I don't know much about Christianity, but he took a trail of all the pilgrimage across the mountains of Spain and France. So she took with the walking, a long walk. I don't know how long it took. We will ask her. And then it is she went through walking that path to see self-realization or some understanding of the forgiveness of the Christianity. After that, she went on to Sadhguru in India. She went to India to spend time with the Sadhguru. Sadhguru is the Isha Foundation. He is a very popular guru from India now, presently. He's from the same state as mine, southern state. And then she went to Ramadas. She followed a lot of Ramadas teachings. So let us talk with her. She is exposed to Hinduism and Christianity quite a bit. And without further ado, let me bring Vanessa Vélez, Dr. Vanessa Vélez. Welcome, Dr. Vanessa Vélez.
Thank you, Ramana. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Let me ask you a little bit. Give me your background a little bit. I was telling you, so you can give me some journey about that, how you became a psychiatrist, the journey through the process.
Yeah, so I, like you said, I'm an integrative and holistic psychiatrist, and I originally thought I wanted to be a surgeon. And then in medical school, I went into my psychiatry rotations, and I just fell in love with just talking to people one-on-one, diving deep into their story. And I decided to do that for residency. And in residency, I just really enjoyed outpatient. And I decided to start my private practice, soul psychiatry, to really integrate the mind, the body, and the soul not just seeing a person as a diagnosis, but seeing them as a whole person, and really thinking about them in a holistic lens. So using the best of traditional medicine with medications when needed, and also using wellness, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, nutrition, joyful movement. So really taking a really broad lens to mental health.
Vanessa, the mental health brought a lot of catastrophe in the world. The pandemic brought some catastrophe. After the pandemic, a lot of people are feeling that pressure. Even the still left over is a bigger than economic crisis. They say a mental health crisis. What is the misconception people have about the mental health in general in the United States or around the world? What is we all think wrong about it or right about the mental health?
Yeah, this is a great question. You know, we forget that the body and the mind are one. And so sometimes we look at them as separate. So it's really important to really unite them. And also, that spiritual part is so important because the way I think about it is that there is a hole in the soul and we try to fill it with external things. So it's really important to look within and connect ourselves to something larger. And so I think that the crisis is really about a lot of isolation, a lot of looking outside for validation, for affirmation. And we've been really chasing different things like money and credentials or positions, power. And so there's a bit of disconnection there. I also feel like we're disconnected to the health of our planet as well. And so it's so important to consider, the health of our planet in addition.
I don't know whether you forgot to mention that one thing we all know. I'm in Silicon Valley. Technology created a lot of pressure to people, undue pressure on them. What is a psychiatrist and all your mental health professionals think about these technologies pressure on people?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure from social media, and these apps are really meant to be addicting, right? We constantly are checking them. We're constantly switching from one application to the next, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, our emails. And so it's really played um, it's really affected that dopamine, those neural pathways, and also that comparison, thinking that the life of someone else is so much better because of the way they curate their social media. So there's a lot of comparison, and also the sense that, again, money and vacations and all of this is going to bring happiness, and there isn't really a sense of authenticity. The human life is really one of great joy and also of great suffering. And so on social media, we don't see people necessarily crying or posting about their worst days. And so I think there's an altered view on what it is to be human. And the reality is that there is a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, whether it be, um, you know, difficulties with our own health, with our mental health, family situations, social situations, our workplace. So I think it's really important to come back to what is it to be human and to have a real human experience and to have room for all emotions.
So human connections, that is, I went to see my kids nowadays. When I go and see the next generation of kids, they're all on phone. They're not talking with anyone, and they're not even communicating properly. And then if they communicate, they look snappy, and it's really problematic. You can see that mental health struggle right there, right in front of you. What do you suggest? How do you, as an association, as a all general psychiatrist in general, what do you think about this social media influence on these kids? What it's doing, and are you expressing the voice against this kind of encroachment in a human spirit?
Yeah. The way I think about it is I feel like social media is like the new cigarettes. Like, back in the days, everything like smoking cigarettes was really cool. It was the newest thing, but we didn't know that the long-term effects of it. And we're using social media in a very unregulated way. And so I think it's really important to have those limits, and especially as parents, to limit the age of when their child gets their first phone or first electronic. I think it's also important to put the phones away at a certain time, especially a couple hours before bedtime. Also, having a little bit of maybe a basket where everyone puts their phones at dinner time and you just put the phone there. And it really does play with our brains, though, because it's almost like an itch that you have to scratch. But if everyone is doing it together, where they're, really being intentional of how we're using social media, I think it could create, it's just space for authentic human face-to-face communication.
I guess from your last name, Vanessa Vélez is a Hispanic background. I'm from an Indian background. And we have a lot of ethnic backgrounds coming to this country. It's a pot, a melting pot. So they go through a lot of emotions, a little bit. Every race has that brings some baggage along with these immigrants, baggage, whatever you call, or whatever it is, some kind of a baggage, cultural baggage or religious baggage, they bring it together. How do you so how do the mental health and that part of the baggage works? How do you reconcile each other?
Yeah, I really think it's important to think about the ancestral trauma that we bring, right? And thinking about epigenetics and thinking about how we really inherit that trauma. So from, South America, Latin America, Central America, it's important to think about um, what happened with the conquistadores and the colonization and the slavery, and thinking about all of the tarnish, really the murder of the people and the land. And I think it's so important to remember that we still carry that trauma in our DNA. and and then also being first generation, that is another really important experience to recognize that, at least for me, when I go back to Colombia, I'm not Colombian. And then when I'm in this country, I'm not American. And so it's like this in between space where it's really hard because everyone wants to put, we all want to make, our brains want to make it very simple where we try to put things in boxes and organize it in that sort of way. So it's hard when you don't fit into a certain box and you're kind of in two lands and you don't have much of roots anywhere. So I think it's important to, yeah, remember that ancestral trauma, thinking about coming to another land, and not having those roots, I think is important. And then also having that sense of universal consciousness that we are on one planet, and so we're all human. And then embracing our strengths and our opportunities in our culture. At least, in Latin America, it's such a culture of strength and determination and perseverance. And so many people have had to cross to the United States through the desert or through whatever means, through planes or boats. And so there's a real determination and a real also suppression of one's own needs. And so for a very long time, we've been in that survival mode and suppressing our feelings. And so now we're in this place where we are very comfortable. A lot of us may be comfortable. We at least have the basic needs. And so now we're really thinking about, and we have the mental space to think about that trauma that we've inherited or the trauma that we've experienced. So there's definitely a renaissance of mental health going on.
You mentioned a very interesting point, the epigenetics. Even though the generation did not, don't experience that kind of a trauma, but through the epigenetics, they feel that. I heard that, for example, in African Americans, the feeling of discrimination itself shortens their telomere, the lifespan itself. It's kind of we carry these genes indirectly, that trauma without even experiencing it. That is a tell us a little bit about that. You just mentioned that.
Yeah, definitely. Our genes can, the expression of them can either there can be turned off or turned on depending on our environment. And so it's really important to nurture that environment. And yeah, and our ancestors can have gone through all of these traumatic events, and there might be this weird sort of ache in our souls, or just a disconnection to our bodies, or just um, small, certain triggers that can happen to us. And we might not know necessarily where that came from, but it might have come from our grandparents going through severe poverty or starvation, or, or difficulties with slavery, or whatever it may be, the Holocaust as well. And so I think it's really important to remember that when we're healing ourselves, we're really healing our ancestors and generations ahead of us. So, yeah, it's important to consider.
So let us talk about the little bit switch gear about the tele treatment parts of it. Let us see what are the tools available for psychiatrists and mental health professionals. What kind of tools you have to treat this mental health? First of all, recognize them as a disease. Then you need a seek the treatment or seek the help. And then second part is what are the options available? Tools available for you as a psychiatrist.
Yeah, so that's really important to consider and remember that the spectrum of mental health can be, certain episodes of possibly depression or anxiety. And then it could be as severe as lifelong schizophrenia, lifelong bipolar disorder, lifelong, depression and anxiety as well. So there are many different treatments and modalities. Sometimes those medications or those treatments can be short term, and sometimes they can be lifelong. So really considering, the body, the mind, the soul, the spirit. So body, thinking about the physical health. Are we thinking about, hypothyroidism or anemias or vitamin deficiencies? What's going on with the physical health? And then the psychological health. What are our thoughts? Are the quality of our thoughts? Are they more helpful or not so helpful? Are they fast? Are they slower? What's going on with our minds, our beliefs? Are they limiting us possibly? And then our emotions. It's really cool how emotions are called feelings because we actually feel them in our physical body. So connecting with that. And there's so many different modalities now with somatic therapies like EMDR, somatic experiencing. So really considering that. Also our spiritual health, having a connection to something larger, having that faith, that trust, the surrender, just embracing that love, that essence. And then also considering the health of our society at large. And then also the planet. So there are many, many tools. It could be medications, it could be talk therapy, somatic therapy, um, equine therapy, using yoga, acupuncture. It really depends on what the person is going through. But there are many tools in the toolbox, like you mentioned.
I had a good friend. His name is I'm still have his name is Arsha Wahab. Is one of the well-known psychiatrists. Arsha Wahab one time told me when I was in Emory University. He mentioned to me one time talk therapy. I didn't have any understanding of talk therapy. He said that if you give medication, it affects the entire brain. Talk therapy has a power to change that particular. Somebody says that you're a bad person. That particular pathways you can fix through talk therapy. He said that that is very interesting. After that, I changed my mind about that. I didn't know anything about it. So tell a little bit, talk about a little bit about talk therapy.
Yeah, so talk therapy is incredibly powerful, and it is almost like brain surgery in a way. Um, and so there are many different types of theories. It could be cognitive behavioral therapy, it could be dialectical behavioral therapy, um, psychodynamics. So there are many different lenses on the therapy. But there is something really powerful when we have that opportunity to tell our story, to really express ourselves. There's so much healing in telling our stories and making purpose and meaning out of tragedy and difficulties, and having someone really accept us as we are, really embrace us so that we feel heard and seen and felt. I think that's where the true healing happens between the doctor, the therapist, and the patient.
Talking about stories, Vanessa, I'm going to present the story. Really, talking about stories. This is a story about talking about stories from scientific point of view. Let me present that, and we come back and we can talk and ask you where you're at and how can people can reach you, and then ask about the treatment options like a 12-step therapy and some of your opinion on that one and how you can reach. Let me present my topic. It is about the stories about story. You just mentioned that's the right way to bring this topic, and let me you and me watch together, okay? So that I will bring you in the sidelines. Okay, this is Dr. Vanessa Velez, a board certified psychiatrist, from California. Okay, now I'm going to present a topic on stories about story. That's a scientific story about scientific stories. It's very interesting. So it's a very deep mystery between in physics, particularly. It's bothering a lot of. It still is a big problem for us between the relationship between the observer and observer. You know, Vanessa, you can jump in anytime. I have no problem. Don't worry about interrupting. You can join anytime. Okay, conversation. I would like that actually. So anytime you want to say something, that's more than welcome. So there is a deep mystery there. I'm going to talk about some kind of a story here. Is Vanessa and Diana are friends, and they are in a room. They see a apple on the table. One apple on the table. Okay, they're friends. They're in agreement. There's a one apple. They can cut it in a half, and they can eat of the slice. That's that's the French do, right? But I enter into the room. I see three apples, same place. I see three apples on the same table, same room. I see three apples, a different number. I see. They see one apple. I see three apple. What is Vanessa is going to do? Going to call me institutionalized, sending me to the mental asylum, right? She's going to say, Diana, we need to send our friend Ramana to the mental health hospital, right? Because I see different. But I can tell you there is something extraordinary defense I have. That is called a bizarre Unro effect. It's oh yeah, sorry. I went to it's called a Unro effect, bizarre. It's a very strange. It's a Canadian physicist in 1970s through the quantum mechanics equations, because quantum mechanics is proved to be 24 decimal points. Everything is correct. The economy, three-fourths of our economy runs on the quantum mechanics, actually, quantum physics. So quantum physics, through the equations, he said that you can see two different observers can see a same reality two different ways. For example, you see, he was giving an equation that is a moving observer can see in a same room, same place, a thermal bath. You notice it's where a stationary observer sees no temperature, but a moving observer see a thermal bath. You notice it's a temperature up in the same room. So somebody same event, they see two different outcomes. Do you understand? That is so bizarre, so fascinating, this effect. They has not proven yet. Everybody is trying to prove it. There is a lot of experiments are being done or working on it. They want to prove this effect. It's observer effect. Observer is realities are manifesting to different observers. It's called Unro effect. So so if you say, if you flip a coin, observer one sees head, observer two sees tail. Two different outcomes. So there is no objective reality there. It's all observer dependent. That's a very strange kind of way of thinking, looking at the events. We are all in our real lives, we see one object, one reality, and that is all there. We never see different ones. But Albert Einstein made a comment about this and say, If I don't look at the moon, doesn't exist. So observers make a difference. Their reality may be manifesting into different things for different observers. That's very strange in the physics world of physics. So what, according to this Monroe effect, both realities are true. I can eat actually 3 apples in the same room. I can give each one of them 3, each one of us 1, and then eat 3 apples. It's not a perception; it is a reality. I wanted to make reality is very different. It's not a perception; it's a reality. So they may see 1 apple, I see 3 apples. It raises a lot of profound questions about of the reality itself, right? So because I see 3 apples, they see 1 apple, I can eat 3 apples, they can only split that apple. So we see 2 different things. It's not a perception. These are realities. 2 realities we are manifesting in each other. So I'm going to show you a video explaining a little bit about that you will see. This video will explain a little bit about this, what is causing this, what really in physics says that. Okay.
And here we are, the granddaddy of all quantum weirdness, the infamous double slit experiment. To understand this experiment, we first need to see how particles, or little balls of matter, act. If we randomly shoot a small object, say a marble, at the screen, we see a pattern on the back wall where they went through the slit and hit. Now, if we add a second slit, we would expect to see a second band duplicated to the right. Now, let's look at waves. The waves hit the slit and radiate out, striking the back wall with the most intensity directly in line with the slit. The line of brightness on the back screen shows that intensity. This is similar to the line the marbles make. But when we add the second slit, something different happens. If the top of one wave meets the bottom of another wave, they cancel each other out. So now there is an interference pattern on the back wall. Places where the 2 tops meet are the highest intensity, the bright lines, and where they cancel, there is nothing. So, when we throw things, that is, matter, through 2 slits, we get this, 2 bands of hits. And with waves, we get an interference pattern of many bands. Good so far. Now, let's go quantum. An electron is a tiny, tiny bit of matter, like a tiny marble. Let's fire a stream through 1 slit. It behaves just like the marble, a single band. So, if we shoot these tiny bits through 2 slits, we should get, like the marbles, 2 bands. What? An interference pattern. We fired electrons, tiny bits of matter through. But we get a pattern like waves, not like little marbles. How? How could pieces of matter create an interference pattern like a wave? It doesn't make sense. But physicists are clever. They thought, maybe those little balls are bouncing off each other and creating that pattern. So, they decide to shoot electrons through 1 at a time. There is no way they could interfere with each other. But after an hour of this, the same interference pattern is seen to emerge. The conclusion is inescapable. The single electron leaves as a particle, becomes a wave of potentials, goes through both slits, and interferes with itself to hit the wall like a particle. But mathematically, it's even stranger. It goes through both slits, and it goes through neither. And it goes through just one, and it goes through just the other. All of these possibilities are in superposition with each other. But physicists were completely baffled by this. So they decided to peek and see which slit it actually goes through. They put a measuring device by one slit to see which one it went through and let it fly. But the quantum world is far more mysterious than they could have imagined. When they observed, the electron went back to behaving like a little marble. It produced a pattern of two bands, not an interference pattern of many. The very act of measuring or observing which slit it went through meant it only went through one, not both. The electron decided to act differently, as though it was aware it was being watched. And it was here that physicists stepped forever into the strange never-world of quantum events. What is matter? Marbles or waves? And waves of what? And what does an observer have to do with any of this? The observer collapsed the wave function simply by observing.
So that is a double way. That double slit is 100 years, more than 100 years old. Still, is a puzzling problem for the physicists. It's a very nagging and puzzling problem. They call a measurement problem. So, if we have what is a measurement problem? I tell you what are the questions it came out. Is when is the wave is going to collapse into the particle, and the wave function collapse into particles? When is exactly is doing it? Does the wave function actually collapsing? Or is collapsing in our brain? It's not collapsing at all. It is happening in our brain, in our consciousness. It's collapsing. The second question is, who is a conscious observer? Who is the conscious observer? Cat or dog watches. Does it collapse the wave function? All these questions. Then a conscious observer is necessary. That the wave function collapses. Or all these. The several questions. What constitutes the measurement? Just recording it or just watching it? How do you define a measurement here? This is called a huge problem in physics, measurement problem. We are nagging with this problem. A simple 100-year-old experiment is giving you a humongous problem in the physics. So observer can then John Wheeler, a physicist, is actually a colleague of the Albert Einstein. He worked in the same place in the Princeton University, Princeton School in the physics department. John Wheeler is a very well-known celebrity physicist. He threw another wrench on this whole thing. I tell you what that is. It is. I'm going to explain to you the analogy. It's not exactly that analogy, but it is easy to understand. It is called a delayed choice experiment. He threw another wrench. Okay, what he did was, suppose you have two paths. One is a path of doctor's path. Your father is mother is telling you go become a doctor. Your father is telling you become a lawyer. Your father is telling you become a lawyer. Mother is telling you to become a doctor. So you have not decided yet. But there is after college you have to decide it. Before the college you have to go either pre-med or pre-law, whichever it is. You have to decide it, right? But so they call if you're an Indian or if you're some kind of a monk, you wanted to ask about the astrologer, some guru, what my son or my daughter is going to become, a doctor or a lawyer, that's in general. So astrologer says, she's going to be a doctor, he's going to be a doctor. And say that. No. Then the guy says that, no, I'm not going to trust this guy. You write it down. And before I go even to the college, pre-med or pre-law, you write it down and I will come back and check it. I will decide what I want to become. So the astrologer said that, okay, I'm going to write it down for you and then close the envelope. Then he became a doctor. And then after 10 years, the event is already passed. He cannot change it. His envelope is sealed. So then he goes back and open the envelope. What do you see? You took the doctor's path. Astrologer was telling doctor's path. Oh, that's a luck. What is that big deal? I'm going to somehow you can change the profession itself. You become a lawyer, then go back and check the envelope. It says you're taking the lawyer path. You can change a million times back and forth. It is every time you change it, it is saying the envelope is changed. Envelope is saying that you took that path. How could be possible? It is impossible. That is only two ways you can determine the answers for that is either the astrologer has a prior knowledge of what you do, or he went back indirectly through mental capacity, he's changing the past. It's more likely changing the past. Sounds like changing the past or prior knowledge he has. So you're going to change that. That is a very strange phenomena you throw into the schizophrenia. It's almost like schizophrenia that he not only that is what I would call it as a schizophrenia nature of quantum phenomena. What he did was the event that the quasars brings the rays, the light emits in the quasars 50 billion years ago. It has to go when it goes to a galaxy that is a gravitational lensing they call. It goes one way or other way, or it goes both ways. It depends on the measurement you do. So actually you put a detector there, which way you're coming in, it shows up at the end the way you're detecting it. So the path is already left 50 billion years ago. It is changing the way you measure at the end. Suppose you open up and say, I'm not going to measure it, I'm going to sit down, and then you see the interference pattern means it went through both paths. Or you put the detector on the one side of the galaxy, then it shows I went through that side. The event is already changed 50 billion years ago. It is changing the path. The past is not that real. Past is a construct, maybe. They throw a wrench in the quantum physics about the past. Then that is a bigger problem. John Wheeler said that. So I'm going to give you another example of in physics we call them Bob and Alice. They're lovers, they're friends and lovers, boyfriend and girlfriend. So Bob is trying to explore the what's going on in the black hole system. This is a thought experiment. You don't want to throw anybody in the black hole. But Bob is entering the black hole. So Alice, his girlfriend, is looking at from the Earth's point of view. He's looking at the Bob, his journey. Long way, he's trying to get into black hole. Into Interstellar, you must have seen an Interstellar movie. It is a little bit of that there. When he's entering in the black hole, it is actually, you can see at the end of the event horizon, there is a circle that a particular region of the black hole. Once you at that place, either the person got stuck or become ashes dead. She can go and collect ashes if he is really burned. It's reality, that is true, that you get the ashes. But from a Bob's point of view, he continues his journey without any problem. He doesn't know he's dead. He just continues. Maybe soul psychiatry come in the picture there. So it's a complement. It's called a black hole complementarity principle. It's proposed by Leonard Susskind. I met him actually. He's a guru of all physicists. But what he's saying is, in the black hole, your one person sees a dead, one reality, other one is continuing, nothing happened to them. It's two realities. They coexist each other. These are the extremes you see in certain extreme situations. But that can happen. That means even in extreme situation, you see two realities existing, very opposite realities exist. It's a very puzzling into us. So then there is a new one came in. His name is Nick Bostrom. Is a Swedish physicist, a Swedish philosopher, and then now he's in Oxford. He's a professor in Oxford. You throw another big problem into the system. He he published a very influential paper. Is called simulation hypothesis. What is simulation hypothesis tells us? So these are three options here. It has to be one of the options. It has to be. If it is not, if it is in our system, the universe has to be one of them. It is no, there is no advance in civilization because people are stupid. We see it right now. There's a billions of stars and trillions of stars, trillions of planets. There must be, if there is a life exists, there must be advanced civilization. But one possibility, all these advanced civilizations kill each other and there is no progress and there is death. That is possibility, because we can see through on our earth, we are so stupid. Neil deGrasse Tyson said that when you look at from the space, the earth, he wants to take all the politicians and show them up to the top and see how planet we all live in, this bounded by this planet. So the one option is there is no advanced civilization, all of them are going to be dead. The second one is, so there is a lot of quantum in 1,000 years from now. Think about the quantum computers in picture. A 16-year-old kid sit down and write a simulation. The simulation theory, he has the codes available. He can create you and me on the screens. A computer has a screen, simulation theory. So he can create a code, a 16-year-old board, and write and give us some free will and say, yeah, you get married and you have kids and you have a nice, he can write a code. That is, but the only way he doesn't do it, if I got bored of that one, he is not going to do it. But they both are not less possibility because there is a trillions of stars. Most likely there is advanced civilizations, and there will be the big trillions of people or very advanced civilizations. Somebody will not be bored, so he likes to create an ancient history of humans. So he created people like you and me, and then he write a story. Why he is doing that? He wants to listen stories. He wants to see what you do. Well, how do you tell your story? He wants to listen stories. He wants to see your outcome. You're going to commit suicide. You're going to go mental. You're going to physical. Are you going to love in person? He wants to see the outcome. He is interested in the story. That is the most likely possibility in the simulation hypothesis. Very, very interesting, right? So, in the simulation hypothesis, why is doing it? Is why is doing this simulation hypothesis? That the simulation hypothesis is code is available already. So he wants to listen. Illusion and free will, it creates some kind of a free will for you. It looks like a free will, but you are actually working on the computer, all touch and see and everything. You can create anything from your that mind. You can code something like that. Artificial quantum computers can do. We are getting the quantum computers soon. So he is listening the stories he wants to listen the stories. A 16-year-old kid, maybe that may be quite possible rather than anything else. We are all in simulation and he wants to listen to the stories of us. That's a fascinating idea, right? So if you see that, so what is that observer would say? Only that's left is stories left. It's all sights and sounds. Even if you're not in simulation, the sights and sounds are basically frequencies in the brain is basically recorded as just a raw data. So brain creates a story. It creates an elaborate story. More and research is showing that brain and mind are creating elaborate stories about us. Brain is telling a beautiful story about the world, our external environment. It is not just a raw data that, it filters a lot of things. For example, we have a gene of the dog that we can hear 1 mile away, but that's suppressed now. So it's filtering and giving you a story that makes sense. It is a confirmation bias. For example, we can feel that because brain is telling a story through confirmation bias. Some people already made up their minds and then They only read the things that they like. They don't see any contradictory evidence. That's one of the proofs of the brain creating a story. Placebo effect, they are telling you taking a sugar pill, then it's going to be cured. That's a very convincing for these people. These are all brain is creating a story, telling a story to you. That's one of the part of the strangest thing. So when a peekaboo universe, when a baby see that, that all mothers do, and you open the window, the baby is laughing, right? Once they see the baby, you can look at the baby and the baby is going to laugh at you in the peekaboo thing. But I tell you, what are you thinking? You think baby is thinking you're disappearing and coming back like a magic, right? That's why he's laughing, the baby. But I tell you, very interesting. It may be more than that. Maybe actually mother is disappearing. The universe is entirely disappearing. And actually on the baby side, it's not that is tricking the baby. Maybe it's real. The peekaboo universe come in and out of existence. And for that, all these scientists, very seasoned scientists, are on the side of the baby rather than here. William Monroe effect, I told you William Monroe, and Donald Hoffman is a conscious agent. Donald Hoffman is a cognitive scientist from California. What he says is that we are all conscious. We never had access to the truth. They're all like an interface on laptop. All the objects we see, just the interface. Then you see that Max Tegmark is a MIT professor. He's talking about a mathematical universe. There is nothing is there. It's all mathematics, numbers only. It's not a mathematical description. It's a mathematics itself, the world universe is. That's what he's saying. Then Anil Seth, a neurocognitive scientist from England, Sussex, he says that only there is a universal consciousness, nothing else. There's no proof anything else exists. Stephen Wolfram is a very, very well celebrated celebrity physicist and a computation. He was talking about a computational universe. We're computing. It's all based on computations. Creating that we are bounded by computational universe. Then you see Robert Lonza, he says that life creates actual reality. Life comes to existence with reality. Robert Lonza is a doctor from Boston. He's a very well celebrated, kind of a very well-known doctor, and he wrote several books on biosynthesis. So he says that all of them came through life. Life creates, you can create that 13 billion years ago. You can create in your mind that exists 13 billion years ago. And John Wheeler of all, he was saying that the reality is the figmentation is all mind's imagination. Is nothing is there. It's all imagination. He believes in 100%. He believes that is all these what you see is just the imagination. That is but what you left? Only thing is left is stories. Only stories are left. We are beautiful. What Vanessa was telling them, stories. Listen to the stories. They're not some kind of crazy stories. Talk therapy is a powerful story, listening story. Doctors, you're the advocates of the patients. You got to listen to the stories. If you want to be a true doctor, treating the mind, body, emotions, psychological, physical, mental, emotional, you need to listen to the stories. Stories tell a lot of things. That is a new branch of science. It's an interface. It is a narrative medicine. Is a medicine practiced with the competence to recognize, absorb, interpret, and be moved by the stories of illness. Doctors are the story. They let the patients are the storytellers, and then you are the center. Without sitting at your office, you can get all these stories to listen. What a blessing! One of my friends used to tell me when I was listening, when I was doing a physics degree, he said, "What is God's purpose for existence?" He said that The only God purpose is to listen to the stories of humans. The reason He created us to listen to the stories. So you're blessed. You're in that position as a doctor. You can listen to the stories of the people. That's really a blessing in my view. So she read the book. Rita Sharon wrote the book. Narrative Medicine is a very wonderful book to read it actually. So that is the. So what is the patient-physician relationship is? When you talk about physical medicine, I'm a doctor. What do you mean by doctor? Doctor means you have to understand the patient compliance problem. For example, patient compliance. If I am listening if you listen to the story, if you tell my daughter tells me, Dad, don't eat this particular sugar things, I won't eat. If a doctor telling me, I may not do follow exactly. So compliance is a relationship. If you're listening to the story, what their loved ones may be forcing you bring them, the loved ones, to the table and say, you need to comply for this. Patient-centered care, mind-body connection, Vanessa was talking about, is a cosmic connection that you have. Placebo effect, all the shared decision-making, all of them together, that is to be the true medicine, practicing true medicine in my view. Just if you want to practice the way the traditional one is talking about, Silicon Valley is going to eat you over. But you need a physician in a position to do entirely different, a new kind of medicine you can practice. This is the practice. Listen to the stories and humans, and then human-centered approach. Nothing can beat that. Thank you for listening. I'm honored to have you listening to this one. Thank you so much. So John Wheeler said at the end, I tell you what John Wheeler said. When we peer down into the deepest recesses of matter, or at the farthest edge of the universe, we see finally our own puzzled face looking back at us. One of the most prominent physicists saying that. He's talking philosophy. He said that either you probe into the electron microscope all the way to the bottoms, and the electrons and protons and neutrons and quarks, or you go all the way to the universe itself, beginning of the universe, microbe. You can go galaxies, planets, all of them. You will see, you may be wondering at the end, it may be looking at your poker face of yours, laughing at you. And all is done, and when all is said and done, only we are left with the stories. So let us make them beautiful, and you're the part of that big player in that one. Thank you for listening, and let me bring Vanessa to the table. Hi, Vanessa, how are you? What do you think?
Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. There were many concepts that I didn't quite understand, and it brought me back to physics in undergrad. But I loved how you tied these concepts to medicine and the power of story and making meaning. And you had mentioned about the past as a construct, and I think our past sometimes can haunt us through tragedy, and so retelling the story and shifting out of that victimhood and going into the empowerment, but going through the grief and all the stages of the sadness, the anger, the just the confusion of it all, I think is so important. Not bypassing the emotions, but really using our story to empower us. And you mentioned about the power of relationship, and that is the thing that ties us together. Our suffering, our pain, our joys, our celebrations, all of that really helps us to humanize each other. And so I think it's important to remember that when we look at each other, we're really looking at ourselves, and connecting that, what you said about the micro and the macro. What's below is above. And so, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your intelligence with us, so that we can really bring this into the patient encounters, because it's really about having that patient, human-centered care.
Absolutely. So, Vanessa. So tell us a little bit about you, and then what is your plans? And you do tele psychology, the teleconsults that you do right now.
Yes, yes. So my practice is called Soul Psychiatry, and I see patients virtually through telehealth. And it really is that holistic lens. So I treat depression, anxiety, existential distress, spiritual distress, ecological distress, and I really help people find inner peace. Really connecting to themselves and doing that inner work. And I use talk therapy, some somatic approaches, so connecting to the physical body, and then of course medications when needed, and those holistic approaches. So I do have my medical license in California. So if anyone would like to have a free consultation, just to see if we're a good match, they can contact me through my website. There's a request an appointment form and booking.
What is your website? What is your website,
Yeah,
Vanessa?
so it's VanessaVelezMD.com, VANESSAVELEZ.
Just let me put that in. Actually, you could have. This is one thing I needed. Forgot to do that next time. VanessaVelezMD.com. That's what he said.
Yes, that's correct.
VanessaVelezMD. I'm just putting your web address on the people can. It's very easy to remember anyway. Your name, right? MD.com. Yeah. That's just I'm making this thing. Then they can see. Okay, I think they can see your name now. I think.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Vanessa. You are truly traveled around the world, undersea exposure to the different spiritual backgrounds, and it's truly an honor for me to talk with you. Thank you so much for coming on my show. I'm truly honored.
Thank you, Roman. I really appreciate what you're doing and really bringing in spirituality, the sciences into medicine. So thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming to us, and thank you for joining. Tomorrow we have an excellent guest, and they're joining from actually Ecuador. The two guests, they're going to talk about a blue zone diet. You all, that you need to pay attention to the blue zone diets. We all, nutrition is as important, right? Vanessa, nutrition is extremely important in the psychiatry, also in the mental health. Thank you all. Good night. Good night.
Bye. Thank you.
We are retelling their stories through our printed designs that can be worn on t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it